I did speak to an eyewitness, and he told me that the motorcycle gangs met at this gas station, and he said within seconds, guns were pulled and shots were fired. Now, police say that caddy ended up hitting another car that was in this driveway, and then that car tore a hole in this house. I want to show you just how close these campaign signs are to her memorial. If we take out the tape measure. Soy Stephanie Claytor, sustituyendo a Nancy Cruz. Gracias por dejarnos entrar en sus hogares. And you see this cinder salt mix right here. This is what the crews are going to use to clear off the roads. It's so bad out here. Police are telling everyone to stay home. Why did you take her when you don't have custody of her? And you see this man over here. He is trying to get all of these tumbleweeds out of his yard. Well, Danielle, police say they're still not sure if their bullets killed the suspect. They said they're waiting on an autopsy to determine his cause of death. But we do know that after the shots were fired, that man was lying dead on the ground just behind me in that mobile substation. And police are not releasing his name just yet, but they did say he was 35 years old and he had an extensive criminal record. ¿Por qué lo mataron? She says this is her grandson lying dead on the ground. Heartbroken, she wants to know why police killed him.
¿Por qué no le tiraron en una pierna? ¿Por qué tenían que matarlo? Él era un buen hombre. Él amaba a su hija. Ustedes son peor que él.
Police say they shot at him because they believed he kidnapped a woman.
We received a phone call that a person had been abducted, kidnapped from Robinson Park.
Chief Gordon Eden says officers attempted to conduct a high-risk traffic stop near 4th and Bridge.
The vehicle did stop, and as the officers were going to engage the vehicle took off again.
Officers followed him to here, the neighborhood tucked in between Broadway and Avenida Cesar Chavez.
When the suspect exited the SUV, preliminary report again, it said he had a gun in his hand, and our officers gave him verbal commands and orders, and shots were fired.
Police have not said if the suspect ever shot at them.
I heard 9 shots. It seemed like a exploding bottle rocket, but it was boom, 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 boom.
3 officers then performed CPR, desperately trying to save his life. It didn't work. He died on scene. And even though that grandmother you heard from said he was a good man, police say the suspect was arrested in May for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Now, we don't know if that woman and man knew each other, but police did say that the woman was able to successfully jump out of that SUV. And tonight we have 2 officers on leave. Police haven't released their names, but they say they both are men and that one of them has been with the department for more than 20 years. Live near Broadway and Cesar Chavez, Stephanie Claytor, KOB Eyewitness News 4. Tom, I spoke to a retired man that has coffee with his buddies at this McDonald's all the time, and he says, you know, what happened is tragic, but he is glad that the cops were able to arrest the suspects they were looking for.
Pop, pop, pop.
Rio Arriba County Sheriff's Deputy Gilbert Atencio said he heard the shots across the street in the Smith's parking lot. Several people inside the McDonald's heard the shots as well, coming from the parking lot, including 68-year-old Wallace Anderson.
Well, we just saw these unmarked vehicles pull up, like these Ram 1500 Dodge trucks or whatever, and they surrounded this vehicle so it could not back up and escape. And then at that point, then the shots happened and the guy was dragged to the pavement.
Anderson said he didn't see the officer get shot, but he knew something was wrong when dozens of cops showed up.
The other officer, I saw him leave the vehicle, and then he was hugging another officer, you know, like almost like a relief thing, you know. So at that point, I thought, well, maybe an officer was injured because the officer seemed pretty shook up.
He said this is the second time he's experienced violence at this McDonald's.
To me in Albuquerque, it's a daily occurrence. You know, riding my bike, I witness all kinds of things.
Now, as you can see, police officers are removing that crime tape that is surrounding the McDonald's. And many of the witnesses that were in the McDonald's at the time of the shooting, they were held there for at least an hour while detectives conducted interviews. Live at Central near Tramway, Stephanie Claytor, KOB Eyewitness News 4. Tessa, while watching the lapel camera video, you can see the officer and medical staff just in disbelief that a 3-year-old could actually get a gun and shoot both of his parents with one shot. But after the detectives finished that investigation, that's exactly what they concluded.
My son got a hold of my girlfriend's gun that was in the press, and it don't have a safety, and he pulled the trigger. We didn't have it up high.
How old's your son?
He was 3.
And he shot your girlfriend?
Yeah, he shot me and my girlfriend.
It took first responders about 15 minutes to get there. That's because Justin Reynolds had his 2 toddlers, his pregnant girlfriend Monique Viescas, and 2 pit bulls in his motel room. During the 911 call,
Hello? Monique!
you could hear the pain in their voices. Officers say the couple left a loaded handgun around their young children. Reynolds told KOB the toddler was reaching for an iPod in his girlfriend's purse when they heard a bang.
All of a sudden we heard a gun go off, and then next minute I realized that my girlfriend was bleeding. Then I sat down. I realized I was shot too.
Days later, during the Safe House interview, police reports indicate the investigator asked the 3-year-old, "What happened to mommy?" And the 3-year-old replied, "I shot it." Then the investigator asked, "Where was the gun?" And the boy replied, "On TV, I jumped." After that interview, detectives determined the shooting was an accident. Viescas and Reynolds were charged with child abuse. Both have since bonded out of jail. No answer at Viescas' last listed address. Viescas posted this to Facebook Wednesday. It appears she's still waiting on the birth of her 3rd child. Initially, officers were looking into charging him with felon in possession of a firearm, but that did not happen when they learned that Justin Reynolds was not a convicted felon. Live in the newsroom, Stephanie Claytor, KOB Eyewitness News 4. Ramiro Armendariz is happy to be alive this Christmas. He got out of the hospital on Monday and is still recovering from a gunshot wound in his back. He says he's still in pain. An Albuquerque police officer accidentally shot him earlier this month as he was looking for burglary suspects in the apartment above.
My gun was right here, and I fell down, and that's when I guess my trigger finger went down at the same time.
The bullet went through the upstairs apartment floor and struck Armendariz as he was getting some water. He says the officer should have been more careful, but he told me he's not angry at him. He says his focus is getting better so he can get back to work. Armendariz told me he does not plan on hiring an attorney. In the newsroom, Stephanie Claytor, KOB Eyewitness News 4.